You walked into the bank smiling. You signed the papers. You shook someone's hand. And you left feeling like you had just done something responsible, something adult, something smart. But here is what nobody told you in that moment. The bank was not there to help you. It was there to profit from you. And the most unsettling part is that it used your own psychology against you to make sure you never figured that out. This is not a conspiracy. It is not a shadowy plot hatched in a secret boardroom. It is something far more ordinary and far more dangerous. It is a system built over centuries, refined with precision, and quietly woven into the fabric of how you think about money every single day. And the moment you understand how it works, you will never see a bank the same way again. Let us start with something called mental accounting. In the 1980s, economist Richard Thaler began studying a strange quirk in human behavior. He noticed that people do not treat all money the same way. Money you find on the street feels different from money you earned. A tax refund feels like a bonus. A gambling win feels disposable. But your salary feels sacred. Thaler called this mental accounting. Your brain, he discovered, sorts money into invisible categories and applies completely different rules to each one. It is irrational by every measure of classical economics, but it is entirely human. And it is exactly what banks exploit first. Here is how it works in practice. You have a savings account earning 0.5% interest. You also have a credit card charging you 22% interest. Mathematically, paying off that credit card is the single most powerful financial move you can make. The numbers are not close. It is not even a debate. But your brain does not see it that way. The savings account feels like progress. It feels like a cushion. Touching it feels like failure. So you leave it untouched, pay the minimum on your card every month, and the bank quietly collects the difference. For years. That gap between what you could do and what your brain lets you do is where banks live. Now consider the architecture of a bank branch itself. Psychologist Paco Underhill spent decades studying how physical environments shape spending behavior. What he found applies as directly to banks as it does to supermarkets. The layout is not accidental. The warm lighting is not accidental. The comfortable chairs in the waiting area are not accidental. Everything is designed to slow you down, lower your guard, and make you feel that the person sitting across from you is a trusted advisor, not a salesperson working on commission. The language they use follows the same logic. They do not call it debt, they call it a product. They do not say you will pay for 30 years. They say your monthly repayment is affordable. They do not say they profit from your confusion. They say they are here to help you achieve your goals. Every word is chosen to reframe the transaction in your favor, while the actual terms quietly work against you. But the deepest trick is not about language or architecture. It is about time. In the 1990s, economists David Laibson and Richard Thaler independently studied something they called hyperbolic discounting. It is the name for a bias so deeply wired into your brain that most people never escape it. The bias works like this. Your brain dramatically overvalues the present compared to the future. A reward today feels far more valuable than the same reward tomorrow, and astronomically more valuable than a reward in 5 years. This is not laziness. It is not weakness. It is your ancient nervous system, still calibrated for a world where the future was genuinely uncertain and the present was all that mattered. Banks understand this better than almost any other institution on earth.
When they offer you a credit card, they are not selling you a loan. They are selling you the feeling of having money right now. When they offer you a buy now, pay later option, they are not financing your purchase. They are selling you permission to ignore the future version of yourself who will have to pay. When they charge compound interest, they are not calculating a fee. They are harvesting the difference between what your brain values today and what it refuses to think about tomorrow. Compound interest is perhaps the most asymmetric force in personal finance. Albert Einstein reportedly called it the eighth wonder of the world, though no one has ever been able to verify the quote. The sentiment, however, is real. Compound interest working for you inside an investment account you own builds wealth with a slowness that eventually becomes breathtaking. But compound interest working against you inside a debt you carry destroys wealth with a speed that most people only recognize when it is far too late. A $10,000 credit card balance at 22% interest, paid with the minimum monthly payment, will take over 30 years to clear. You will pay more than $40,000 for something that cost $10,000. That is not a fee. That is not an inconvenience. That is the wholesale transfer of your future income to a financial institution that lent you money it created digitally in under a second. And you signed the form, smiling. Now consider the concept of the anchor. Behavioral psychologist Dan Ariely ran a series of experiments in which he asked people to write down the last 2 digits of their social security number before bidding on items at auction. The results were startling. People with high numbers consistently bid more than people with low numbers. The number had nothing to do with the value of the item. It was simply the first number in their heads, and their brains used it as a reference point for everything that followed. This is called anchoring, and banks use it every time you see an advertised interest rate, a promoted credit limit, a headline minimum repayment amount, or a suggested savings goal. The number they show you first is not chosen randomly. It is the number that benefits them most when your brain uses it as a reference for what is normal. A credit card with a $20,000 limit does not help you. It anchors your sense of how much debt is acceptable. A minimum repayment of $45 does not protect you. It anchors your brain into thinking that $45 a month is what paying off debt looks like. Meanwhile, interest quietly compounds in the background, and the balance barely moves. There is also a more subtle psychological mechanism at work, one that does not involve numbers at all. Trust. Research by social psychologist Robert Cialdini has documented extensively how authority signals create trust, and how trust bypasses critical thinking. Banks have spent over a century engineering every detail of how they present themselves, their buildings, their suits, their logos, their jargon, their certificates, to project the maximum possible sense of authority and permanence. And your brain responds to that projection the same way it responds to a doctor, a judge, or a pilot. It lowers its defenses. It defers. It assumes that the authority figure has your interests at heart. This is not cynicism. This is neuroscience. Your brain is wired to trust institutions that look established, use formal language, and present themselves in positions of power. In most contexts, that wiring has served humanity well. In the context of a financial institution that profits from your confusion, it is the most expensive cognitive bias you will ever have. So, what do you actually do with this knowledge? You start by naming the tricks when you see them. Mental accounting, hyperbolic discounting, anchoring, authority bias. These are not abstract concepts. They are the exact mechanisms firing in your brain the next time you choose not to pay off your credit card, the next time you accept a financial product without reading the terms, the next time you feel reassured by a banker's confidence rather than the numbers on the page. You ask a different kind of question. Not how much is the monthly repayment, but how much will this cost me in total? Not what is the introductory rate, but what is the rate after the promotional period ends? Not does this feel affordable, but what is the actual annual percentage rate and how does it compound? And perhaps most importantly, you recognize that the bank is not your enemy, but it is not your friend either. It is a business. It has shareholders, profit targets, and incentive structures that have nothing to do with your financial well-being. The moment you understand that, you stop relating to it the way your nervous system wants you to, with the instinctive deference of a human in the presence of authority, and start relating to it the way it relates to you. As a transaction, as a negotiation, as a system you can learn to use on your own terms. You walked into the bank smiling. Now you know exactly why they wanted you to.